Good evening, my name is Ashan and today I'll be explaining a program that uses inheritance. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just run the program to see what it does. So right here we have a test one, and it prints out the activities numeric score, which is 88. Then it prints out the letter grade, and test 2 prints out the numeric score, which is 75. And then it prints out a letter grade, which is P. I'm gonna go ahead and debug this. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the classes, then I'm gonna go to the class, then I'm gonna go to the CPP file for that class. So the first class I'm gonna go through is the base class, which is called graded activity. So right here, we just created a class. We use the protected access specifier to allow this variable right here to be accessible to derived not objects but classes. Now we declared a variable called score to store the score of a graded activity. Then we have a constructor that a default constructor that assigns 0.0 to score to prevent garbage from to prevent the variable from containing the garbage. Then we have a setter function or overloaded constructor that sets scores to s with the parameter that sets scores to s, which is the parameter of the constructor. Then we have a setter function called set score, and then this just does the same thing as the construction. Only thing, this can be accessed with a function instead of being automatically set with s. You can set it in the main with that set score. Then we have a getter function that get score that just returns the score. Then down here we have a virtual function that returns a char, and this must be defined in a derived class, and it just allows dynamic binding and stops and it doesn't bind statically. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move to graded activity.cpp, and right here we have the definition for a get letter grade. So first thing we do, we declared a variable called letter grade. It's of a data type of char, and basically what this function does, it uses a if else statement, and it checks the score to see if the value of score is greater than 89, 79, 69, or 59. If the value is greater than 89, then A will be scored in letter grade. If the score is greater than 79, then a B will be assigned to letter grade, and so forth. And then it just returns the letter grade depending on what the score is, what the value of score is. That's all this function does. Then we're going to move on to the pass-fail activity header file. That is a derived class of graded activity. So right here we're using the protected access specifier, and we're declaring another function, but a variable called min passing score to hold the minimum passing score of this graded activity. And then we have a default constructor right here called min pass, and we assign we assign 0.0 to the min passing score to prevent garbage again. Then we have an overloaded constructor that takes a parameter called MPS, and MPS just stands for minimum passing score, and it sets min passing score to MPS. Then we have a setter function that does the same thing as this constructor. It's assigning MPS to min passing score, and then we have a getter function that returns the value of min passing score. And down here we have another virtual function that returns a char called get letter grade, and this is a redefinition of this function right here. So in pass fail activity, not pass fail activity. Where is it? Where did I go? In graded activity, the definition for get letter grade does this. And we're gonna move on to pass fail activity .cpp, and it redefines the function. Same name, same everything. So we declare a char again called letter grade, but this time, if the score, we're using a conditional statement to see if the score is greater than or equal to minimum passing score. If it is, then P will be assigned to letter grade, which stands for a pass. Else, F will be assigned to letter grade to represent a failing grade. And then it just returns the letter grade variable. So all we're doing. Then we're going to move on to the pass-fail exam class, which is derived from the pass-fail activity. And this time we're using the private access specifier instead of the protected. And now we have 3 declarations, or 2 ints and a double, called num questions, which will store the number of questions, points each, which will score the points per question, and the num missed, which stands for the number of questions missed, which means if it's incorrect or a blank question, if the person didn't answer that question. Then we have a default constructor that just assigns 0, 0.0 to the variables to prevent garbage again. Then we have another overloaded constructor that takes 3 parameters: questions for the number of questions missed, for the number of questions missed, and then the minimum passing score. And we have it as MPS for short in the parameter list. Then we're calling the pass fail activity constructor, and we're passing MPS to it, the minimum passing score, and that just sets, we can go back to it, and that just sets MPS to the minimum or mean passing score right here. Exactly. So go back to pass fail exam .h, and then inside the constructor we're calling the set function, which is how you take 2 ints, and it takes the number of questions and missed. And here's the prototype for this function. We're going to move over to it to see what it does. So the set function, which is in pass-fail exam.cpp, it takes 2 parameters: questions for the number of questions and missed for the number of questions missed. It declares a double variable called numeric score. It assigns questions to num questions, missed to num missed, and it calculates the points per question. Then it calculates the points per missed question and deduct it from 100 and assign it to numeric score. Then we're calling the set score function with numeric score as an argument, and this function is all the way from the graded activity class right here, set score, and it just assigns the parameter, right, which is the argument, and stores in score. Now let's go back to pass-fail exam.h, the header file. So we already know what this function does, and now we just have some getter functions that returns the number of questions, the points per question, and the number of questions missed. And that's all it is. Now let's move on to not a class, but a header file, a helpers header file. And this just declares a function prototype that takes a pointer parameter. Let's go to the CPP file, and right here, this function, the definition of this function, it takes the pointer, which is an object, which will be an instance, and then it Set the position to 1, so 1 decimal place would fix, and this is why we have the IO manipuler here. We're using IO stream for the input and output statements like cout, but we're only using cout right now, so we're only outputting, and the helpers that header file to define the display grade function. So yeah, so all this is doing is just accessing the instance, which we will pass to this function, and then pulling some functions from the instance. So we have activity that, well, not that, because we're using a pointer. We can use the arrow and call the get score function to return the score. Then we can call the get letter grade. Now we can move on to our driver.cpp, which is our main. So we're upon including IO stream for our cout statements, pass fail exam for the class, and the helpers h for the display grade function. So in this CPP file, we created 2 instances, one from graded activity and one from pass fail exam. The instance from graded activity is called test1, and it passed 88 as an argument. So let's just go back to refresh what this does, or what this will do. So we can move back to graded activity, we can go back to the class. So it takes the score and it assigns 88 to score. That's where we're at right now. Go back to driver, and then we're creating our object test2. They passed 3 arguments: 100 for the questions, 25 for the questions missed, and the minimum passing score, which is 70. And we can just go ahead and touch back on that too in the pass fail exam. And this calls the pass fail activity constructor and passes the minimum passing score to it, and that just sets the min passing score to the MPS. Go back to this right here. Then inside the brackets, we're calling the set function, and we're passing questions and missed as arguments. And this function just calculates the points per question and calculates the actual score after deducting the missed questions. Then we have a cout statement that says test1, and we're calling the display grade from the helper function, calling display grade, and we're passing test1 to it. And in this function, let's go see what it does. By taking the object, then we're getting the score, and then we're getting the letter grade. And since this is a graded activity, the definition for, let's see, where is it? The definition for the get letter grade for the graded activity is this, because remember, this is a virtual function. So this will print out either A, B, C, D, or F. But for the pass fail exam, the definition for the get letter grade is it will return P or F. So now that's why when we pass the object test2, we get P or F, and when we pass the object test1, which is off of graded activity, we get A, B, C, D, or F.